Hey and welcome! Today I'm going to share with you my voice translator. This was an app that was surprisingly easy to build, but is kind of mind-blowing. So what it does is I can record myself speaking in English and then it will translate it to different languages. And the mind-blowing thing is, it will use my own voice to generate my speech in these other languages. So for example, let's record something as an example. Hello, good morning. My name is Mustra and I'm excited to share this app that I made with everyone else. So I stop it and then submit it. And after around 20-30 seconds, I have it here in this example in 6 different languages. So let's try the Turkish one.
Merhaba, günaydın. Adım Mistra. Yaptığım bu uygulamayı herkesle paylaşacağım için heyecanlıyım.
Or in Russian.
Здравствуйте, доброе утро. Меня зовут Мистра, и я рад поделиться этим приложением, которое я сделал со всеми остальными.
Or in Japanese.
こんにちは、おはようございます。私の名前はミストラです。私が作ったこのアプリを他の人と共有できることを楽しみにしています。
I don't know, it's honestly kind of eerie to hear yourself speak languages that you cannot actually speak. But it was super exciting to build and to play with, so let's get started and I'll show you how you can build this app. So this app is really easy to build on Gradio. I'm going to use 3 components in total, not Gradio components, but 3 technologies. The first one will be AssemblyAI to transcribe my English speech into text. And then I'm going to use a translate module in Python to translate it into any language that I want. And then I'm going to use Elevenlabs to take that text in whatever language it is and turn it into audio, that is generated audio with my voice. The first thing we're going to do is to start building a Gradio layout. So the first layout that I showed you is a little bit more complicated, even though it has the same functionality. So I will show you how to build this so that we do not have to get into a lot of Gradio details, but just to kind of build everything together. Again, here I just record my voice and then I can get the generated audio in Spanish, Japanese, and Turkish. But both versions will be on the GitHub repository, so if you either want the simplified version or the more complex interface, you can find both of them in the GitHub repository, and the link is in the description below. So let's start by importing Gradio. So I'm not a Gradio expert, but as far as I understand, there are 2 ways to build Gradio apps. One of them is to use Gradio interface, which is a simpler version in which things are kind of already connected to each other. You just need to specify what your input is going to be and what your output is going to be. But if you want to customize your layout a bit more, maybe group components together, using blocks would be a better solution. Like I said, to not go into the details of Gradio too much, I'm just going to show you how to build with the interface option here. And then you just give a name to your interface, and when you call launch on it, it basically starts your app, and then you can access it locally. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to define some functions that will have all the functionality. So there will be a voice to voice function, which will be our main function, and then I will have a audio transcription function in which I'm going to call AssemblyAI, and then we're going to have a translation, well, let's call it text translation function, and finally a text to speech function, in which we're going to call Elevenlabs. So basically these are the 3 components or APIs that I'm going to use, and this is where I'm going to call all of them from. So these will be I'll just return true from these for now. And then I can show you what the interface looks like. Same with this one. Alright, so inside the interface, what you need to specify is the function you're going to call, and then your inputs, and then your outputs. Our outputs are easy, you can just pass it a list, so we're going to create 3 output interfaces, audio interfaces, and their labels are going to be the languages we're going to use. So I can call maybe Spanish first, and then another audio component, which I will label as Turkish. and another one that I will label as Japanese. For the inputs, we can create a input audio input component. Again, this is going to be an audio component. So the sources, for example, there are multiple sources. You can say upload and microphone, but I only want users to record audio, so I will call microphone. The type it will return, I want it to return a name, a file name. And there are some other things that you can specify, like show download button, show share button, but I don't really want to specify those right now. The default values are good enough for me. And this audio input will be the input for me. All right, so if we run this, we can just quickly take a look at what the interface looks like. But I named the strongest should be file path, not file name, so it passes me the path of the audio file that is created after I recorded my voice. So let's save this. There are two ways how you can run Gradio apps. If you run Python simple or whatever the name of your app is, it will run once, but if you make changes, you will not have the chance to see those changes by refreshing your app. Instead, if you run Gradio and then the name of your app, it will be updated every time you make changes and you save it. You can just refresh your browser and then you will see the new version. So let's run it like that. Some errors, but we'll figure that out. So for now, let's just see what it looks like. Allow the microphone. So it basically built all of the interface. That's all we're going to do. You can record yourself here. After you record yourself, you can press stop, and then you will be able to see your waveform. You can either clear it or submit it. All right. So now that the interface is done, let's fill it in with all the functionality we want. Let's see. Let's start with AssemblyAI for audio transcription. So what I have to do is after I get the file path, it's going to be passed to the voice-to-voice function. So I can pass it here, audio file, and then instead of return true, transcribe audio, I will call the audio transcription function. I'm going to pass this audio file directly there, and as a result, I'm going to get a transcription. Transcription response, let's call this. And then we can fill audio transcription function. In here, I'm going to call AssemblyAI to do the transcription. So let's import AssemblyAI as AAI. Of course, now that we're importing them here, make sure that you are installing them as you go along. So I will set my API key. Here is where you can specify your API key with AssemblyAI. Create a transcriber. So AssemblyAI transcriber. And then I can call the transcribe function on this transcriber, and as a result I'm going to get a transcription back, and then I can return this transcription. And I will pass the audio file to the transcribe function, and that's all I have to do. The transcription that I'm going to return is not going to be the text, it's going to be the whole response that I get from AssemblyAI. And the reason I want to do that is because I want to be able to see in the main function whether this transcription errored out or not. So let's go ahead and check that. To see how I can check that, I can just go to AssemblyAI docs, speech recognition, and it will tell me how to catch errors. So it's like this here. We can check the transcription response status, and if that status is AssemblyAI transcription status error, I can raise a Gradio error, and I can just throw the error message that is returned from AssemblyAI. If that is not the case, because I know that for this function to have finished, it either needs to error out or be completed. So there are no other options for this transcription response to be in. Then I can just get the let's just call it text. And in the transcription response is going to be in the text section. And one thing to note here is when you use the Python API, Python SDK of AssemblyAI, the code will halt here and wait for this transcription function to finish running. All right, so we have the text in English and we want to translate it to other languages. Of course, the next step, I'm going to call the text translation function, and I'm going to pass this English text in here, and as a result I'm going to get the translation. How I'm going to do that is by using the Python's translate module. I'll quickly show you the documentation. Here it is. If you go to the official documentation, so they have multiple providers. I've been using the free version and it's been working well enough, I think. Yeah, of course it can be a bit more context aware at times, but overall for just to kind of use it personally, I think it's good enough. And I think the free one is called My Memory. That's the default option. If you want a paid option, for example the Microsoft Translate, you can also change it within the Translate module, and yeah, then you can pay for it and you'll probably get a better translation, but I haven't tested it, so I don't know. So let's import it from translate, import translator, yes, and then here remove the return true. I'm going to create a translator. I need to specify from which language, which is English, to language Spanish. You just need to know the 2-letter code for the language that you want to translate from and to. And then I will call this the Spanish translator. As you can see here, if you want to translate, if you want this voice-to-voice translator to go from a different language, like something other than English, to another language, you can also do that. That's very easy to set up here. If you want to make it even more sophisticated, you can set up some parameters, maybe let the user choose which language they want to translate from. These are all options. So then I call the Spanish translator. I pass the text to it. I could just call it text and then pass it here, and then I will have created the Spanish text, and I can just return that. Oh wait, but I forgot something here on the translator. I need to call the translate function. Alright, so this is to do Spanish, just to kind of do it quickly without adding too much complications, kind of like hacking a solution together. I will add a Turkish translator, just literally renaming things, and then a Japanese translator. You can do this in a much more efficient and nicer way, of course, but let's just get this working, and then, you know, we can worry about the optimizations later. Alright, so now I'm returning through 3 different translations. I can also name them here: Spanish translation, Turkish translation, and Japanese translation. Alright, now I have the texts. The last thing to do is to generate the audio with my voice in these languages. And for that, it's honestly quite easy. All we have to do is to go to Elevenlabs and get the required code. So let's go to Elevenlabs. I will go to their docs. They have really nice instructions for us. So you need to install Elevenlabs, you need to install python.env, and then you need to, of course, have a Elevenlabs API key, and here's how you find it. Once you created an account, you can go to My Account, profile an API key, and then you will be able to see your API key here. Maybe before I show you the code, actually, I will mention how to create your own voice. So when you're on your dashboard on Elevenlabs, after you created an account, like I showed you, you can get your API key. But if you want to generate the translated text into your voice, with your voice, you have to first clone your voice. So you can go to Voices on your dashboard. As you can see, I already have my voice created. So there are a bunch of different ways. You can either design a voice from scratch, you can do instant voice cloning, so it only needs 1 minute of audio of you speaking to clone your voice. There you have a big voice library. If you don't want to clone your own voice, you just kind of want a voice, you can choose it from there. Or you have professional voice cloning. That one is a paid feature, so you need to subscribe to Elevenlabs. But I subscribed for once. I think I paid $25 and I get like a very serious quota that I can experiment with. So I think it's worth it just to try this out. So in the professional voice cloning, all you have to do is to provide at least 30 minutes of audio of you speaking. Of course, this is easy for me because I've been making videos. I have a lot of very long videos of me speaking, so I only provided around 33 minutes, and those are the results that you saw in the beginning of this video. So it's pretty good. Only with 30 minutes of audio, you can get a very close clone. And the upper limit, I think, is around 3 hours. So, or that's the optimal they suggest. If you upload 3 hours of audio of you speaking, you will probably get like a flawless clone. So that's what you have to do before you start coding this section. But let's go ahead and copy the code. So you can either specify your Elevenlabs API key as a environment variable, and then you need to pass it as part of their client that you're creating. Need to install and import Elevenlabs. Let's see how they imported Elevenlabs. Voice settings, Elevenlabs client. Okay, so we can just copy and paste it here. I'll just remove this. I will just specify my Elevenlabs API key here manually. And then let's go ahead and copy this code in this function. All right, so what I need to pass it is the text, right? So I maybe already call this function here, text to speech. I will pass it the Spanish translation. All right, and I can just call it text here too. Let's go line by line. So client, text to speech, we call the convert function. We need to specify the voice ID. By default, they are selecting Adam, but I want to select my own voice, so I can go figure out what the ID of this voice is. It's here in your dashboard, you can find it. If you click it, it will be copied, so you can just change this ID. I will leave all the other settings the same here. Only model ID, it says 11 Turbo V2. I would like the multilingual model so that I can use other languages. Voice settings, so these settings you can experiment with in the speech section. So I could say, good morning, how are you? And this will generate my own voice. Good morning, how are you? And then you can change the stability, similarity, and then see and style exaggeration and see what kind of level you like. The level I liked so far, I know, is for stability is 50%, similarity 0.8%, and style exaggeration 0.5. Sorry, 0.8 as in 80% and 0.5 as in 50%. Works well for me. Speaker boost is boost the similarity of the synthesized speech and the voice at the cost of some generation speed. Okay, these are the settings I used before and they worked for me, so I'm just going to keep them as is. I do not want to play it, so this will create the voice. There are some things I didn't import. UUID also I need to import to save this generated voice. So we don't need to change any of this code. It is just saving the audio file that is created into a file, and this is the file path, and we can just return the file path. So we do not need to change any of this code. It exactly fits in with whatever we want to do. All right, so we can go back here. We can say this is S audio path. This is the file path that was returned to us. But what I've seen is if we pass this path directly into Gradio, it is not able to play it. So what we have to do is do from pathlib import path, and then convert this path into a path to pass it to Gradio. So just like an extra step that we have to do here. I just need to call path here, and then I can call it, okay, I just call it path. Not great naming, but you know, I'm hacking things together here. So I'm also just going to completely butcher it here and call the same things, the same function 3 times with just a different translation text. And then do the same thing here 3 times. All right, so I have taken my English voice. I have translated it, transcribed it using AssemblyAI. I have translated it using a translate module in Python. And finally, I have taken these translations and then generated audio with them in my own voice. And here are the file paths that point to those files. What I have to do now, the only thing I have to do now is to return these paths. Turkish path and Japanese path. Gradio is so simple now, basically because I'm returning these from the main function that I called in the interface, which is here, voice to voice. It will pass all of them one by one to these audio components. Unless I made a mistake here, there's a typo or some sort of bug, it should work. So let's run it and see. Let's see. Oh, of course, I haven't passed my API keys yet. So let me do that and then we run this again. All right, I pasted my AssemblyAI and Elevenlabs API keys where they need to go and then record again. Let's record again. Hello, it is a beautiful day today, but I'm a little bit cold because the AC in this room is blowing really hard. Stop it. Listen to it quickly. Hello, it is a beautiful day today. Okay, it looks like my voice is clear, so let's submit and hope it works this time. All right, exciting.
Hola, hoy es un día precioso, pero tengo un poco de frío porque el aire acondicionado de esta habitación sopla muy fuerte.
Nice.
Merhaba, bugün güzel bir gün ama biraz üşüdüm çünkü bu odadaki klima gerçekten çok kötü esiyor.
Nice.
こんにちは。今日は綺麗な日ですが、この部屋のエアコンがすごく吹いているので少し寒いです。
That's really fun. I really love this app. It's just super fun to hear your own voice in different languages. Like I've never been able to speak Japanese other than maybe, yeah, konnichiwa. So it's very exciting. Like I said, if you want to make it a bit more complicated, like the app that I showed you in the beginning of this video, I can actually run that one quickly so that we have an idea of what we're talking about. Yeah, so if you want a more sophisticated one like this, you know, where you see the audio, you can play the audio, you can download the audio, you see the text also, that is possible with Gradio. You just need to, you know, customize it a little bit more, and it adds up so much code that I didn't want this tutorial to be super clunky. But like I said, you can find this tutorial, you can find all of this code on our GitHub repository for this tutorial. But yeah, so it's been very eerie to hear my voice in many different ways, in many different languages, saying things that I wouldn't even normally say because I had my friends record things for me and then we generated it in my own voice. But I'm also curious what kind of apps you can do with this technology. I've heard recently that Samsung started their own voice-to-voice translation. So when you're having a phone call with someone maybe who speaks Chinese, your voice translates, they hear your voice in Chinese and you hear their voice in English. But I think it's not their voice, it's more like a generated voice with AI. But I can think of this as like when you want to use, when you want to send WhatsApp voicemails to your friends, you can record it in your friend's language, and I'm sure that will surprise them quite a bit. Or I can even imagine this being used to practice, you know, for example, if it says, yeah,
¿Cómo está su salud?
¿Cómo está su salud? I guess I can try to say that in Spanish and see how close it is to what it's saying, because it's also my voice, so it's easier to imitate maybe. But if you have a good idea of how you would use this technology, leave a comment and let us know. I'd be very curious to hear it. Maybe we can even make a tutorial out of your idea. I think that would be really cool. I hope you liked this tutorial. If you want something similar, you can go check out Smitha's video where she teaches you how to build a AI voice bot. So this is like a ChatGPT bot, but instead of texting with it, you can speak with it and it will speak back to you, which I think is quite interesting. She will teach you how to do that in just 20 minutes. Thanks for watching. I hope you had fun, and I will see you in the next video.